gang, it's Sam Bratcher here again with another MCU video. What a twist. We have multiple Marvel movies coming out every year, a multitude of Marvel tie-in shows on different networks, and the content just keeps on coming. These Marvel films and shows are meant to exist in the same universe, and the idea that one day all these characters could interact together would be incredible. That being said, when you have that many people, there's always a chance of plot holes. Yes, even the MCU is susceptible to them, even one glaring one in Avengers Infinity War. I'll just say it right now. Why didn't Doctor Strange portal slice Thanos' arm off? Let's talk about some of the biggest plot holes in the MCU that I was able to find and discuss them. Here's your spoiler warning for the entirety of the MCU and Marvel Comics. Let's begin with the one that's been confusing me for a while. How do Pym Particles work? They don't. There. In the movie Ant-Man, Hank Pym states that he learned how to change the distance between atoms, which does sound cool in a movie, but that doesn't explain how the original Wasp and Scott Lang were able to enter the quantum realm or go subatomic. I know there's a deeper explanation of how Pym Particles work in the comics, but just based on how Hank described them in the film, it doesn't make any sense. Moving on. Iron Man's suit needs a recharge. Now in Iron Man 3, one of the main plot points is that Tony's suit needs to recharge with a car battery. However, up until Iron Man 3, all of his suits were running off of arc reactors, specifically his, the one nestled in his chest that was saving his life. Now, the suits don't need to run off of Tony's specific reactor, since we saw an army of Iron Man suits fighting the Mandarin's forces during the movie's finale, but why does it need to charge with car battery? So Tony just plug that sucker into his chest? Just saying. Next, how long does Doctor Strange train for? Now in Doctor Strange's standalone film, it's extremely tough to nail down when the movie exactly takes place. There are some teases that possibly this happens after the events of Civil War, with the mention of the pilot's spine being injured due to an experimental armor, or possibly that's after the events of Iron Man 2, with the Hammer Tech knockoff armor being tested and turning that guy like a pretzel. But there's no real way to really pin it down. Also, the training montage isn't quite clear as to how long it takes. Strange is mastering the mystic arts, and while he is an extremely intelligent person, very capable, it should take him probably a couple of years, right? There's also a mention of the Avengers in the film, so some of the story takes place after the events of the first Avengers film. You see what I mean? It kind of goes all over the place. If you want to know more about the timeline of the MCU, check out ERIK's comprehensive video on it. It's very good. Next, Howard Stark's model molecule. So you're telling me that Howard Stark, Papa Stark, somehow hid the exact right element inside of a model of the Stark Expo that would save Tony's life in the future from very specific metal poisoning? It's very convenient. Next, how did the Avengers lose Loki's staff after the events of the Avengers? During the finale of that movie, Thor takes Loki and the Tesseract back to Asgard, but leaves the staff? Now, there's a chance that they could have lost that staff in the fight, but they spent most of the movie studying that staff's power source, so couldn't they have built some sort of sci-fi scanner looking for it in New York? It couldn't have gone far. Am I right? I just feel like Thor should have been on the lookout for that when he was leaving Earth. Anyways, moving on, another Avengers question. Why did Thanos give up his only Infinity Stone to a random guy that he has just recruited? Why not to one of his children, who seem a little bit more capable than Loki? But even then, why would you give up an Infinity Stone? I'm guessing he was expecting to get it back. It was a loan to Loki if he succeeded. But next, let's talk about the most confusing plot hole. The 8 years later line in Spider-Man Homecoming has everyone confused. It makes zero sense. The Russo brothers were asked about the time jump during an interview, and they stated, oh, it was 8 years, I believe. And it was quite controversial. Yes, it was a very incorrect 8 years. So let's just chalk that up to being a mistake, because it's starting to hurt my brain. Next, where did the Gauntlet come from? Now here comes Infinity War's plot holes. We find out in the movie that Thanos went to Nidavellir and had the dwarves make him a gauntlet that could house the stones and wield them. However, there was already a gauntlet in Odin's vault with all of the stones in place. We figured out that that is a fake later on in Ragnarok, but still. Also, Thanos already had a gauntlet during the post-credit scene of Age of Ultron. Based on what Eitri, Peter Dinklage's character, stated, it sounds like it was rather recent that Thanos came and killed all the dwarves, or at least after/during the events of Ragnarok. Thanos went to Nidavellir and killed all the dwarves and created the gauntlet. So what were the other two? Did Thanos get the idea of the gauntlet from somewhere else? Has it been used before by other beings? Why did Odin have a fake one? Was Thanos' gauntlet in Age of Ultron the one that we saw in Infinity War? Probably, but that means the Asgardians haven't been listening to the cries of the other realms for some time. Now finally, here's the big one I mentioned before. Why did Doctor Strange not cut off Thanos' arm with the sling ring magic portal device? The sling ring was able to cut off the arm of Cole Obsidian, a being that seemed to be almost as strong as the Hulk, or close to it. Now in Infinity War, we see that sometimes when Thanos uses the gauntlet, you can see some of the energy moving down his arm, but does that mean that his whole body is protected once he wears the gauntlet? No, because he still is cut by Tony Stark, so he's not totally invulnerable. He's pretty strong. But I do want to say, when they knock Thanos out and they try to pull the gauntlet off of him, why not take that opportunity when he's not focused to just chop it off? But anyways, those are the biggest plot holes that I was able to find that really bugged me, but here are a few honorable mentions really quick. Why wasn't Vision in Lagos in the beginning of Captain America Civil War? He would have been a big help. Why rebuild the Bifrost after the events of the first Thor movie? Thor got to Earth in Avengers without it. Thor's age. We see Thor as a child who didn't experience the war between the Frost Giants and Asgard on Earth, but then we see a storybook that chronicles Thor's adventures on Earth, even though he's still a young man in that movie by Asgardian standards. But there you have it. Those are the plot holes that really irked me. Let me know which ones bugged you or other ones that I didn't bring up in the comments down below. Be sure to check out all of our other Marvel content and more by subscribing to New Rockstars. I'm at Sam Basher on Twitter. Follow me, send me your thoughts. Check out my podcast, Only Stupid Answers, if you want to have more Marvel talk. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.